Hello student, how are you? How was going? Grade 5, are you ready? Today we have a new lesson. We will talk about the materials move into and out of the cell. Okay, open your book, page number 22. Open your book, page number 22. And bring the pencil and notebook, okay? As I told you, what is the definition and underline, because the important point you should underline, okay? Are you ready, students? We will start the new lesson. We have materials move into and out of the cell. If you're ready, we will start, okay? If you remember previous lesson, we talked about the structure of the plant and structure of the animal cell and the differentiate between of them. Who can tell me the differentiate between animal and plant cell? Who can tell me? Do you remember the differentiate between of them? That was plant cell have the cell wall, okay? The plant cell have the cell wall, but animal cell doesn't have the cell wall. Do you see? That one is cell wall that protected the cell and inner part, okay? This is the cell wall and contain fibers that gives the cell wall very strong, very strong. Do you see? This is the cell wall, okay? Cell wall, a rigid layer that support and protects the plant cell, okay? This is the cell wall. And the other differentiate is what? That the plant cell have the chloroplast, but animal cell doesn't have the chloroplast. The green matter, do you see the green matter? That is chloroplast, but animal cell doesn't have the chloroplast because they don't produce and make their own food. But plant cell, they have a chloroplast that is necessary for the producing food and capturing the sunlight. This is what? This is chloroplast, but animal cell doesn't have the chloroplast. Organelles that make food for the plant cell. Organelles that make food for the plant cell. This is the differentiate between plant cell and animal cell. Now we will start a new lesson, okay? We will start a new lesson. Materials move into and out of cells. Most of the activities of cells require energy. Any activities that happens inside the cell, they need energy, okay? They need energy. The energy is supplied by what? Supplied by the mitochondria, okay? The energy that supplied or supported or released by what? By mitochondria, okay? Underline this one, okay? The energy is supplied by what? Supplied by mitochondria. Mitochondria use what? Use what? Mitochondria to supply the energy use what? Use food, okay? Use food, okay? If I asked you, mitochondria use what to supply energy? First one, food. The second one, oxygen. Third one, water. Okay? They use what? Food, oxygen, and water. As a human and animal, if you do a work, you need what? To have a good energy. You need food also. You need oxygen and water, okay? To produce energy. To produce energy. This process produce carbon dioxide, okay? This process produce carbon dioxide. How do cells get needed materials like food, water, and oxygen? How do cells get needed materials like food, water, and oxygen? This is the question. You will get answer in the next part. And how do they get rid of wastes like carbon dioxide? How they throw the wastes inside the cell? How they waste that things doesn't necessary of the cell? How they write, okay? How they throw inside the cell, okay? And how they get the materials need inside the cell, okay? How we have two process. The first one called diffusion and the second one called osmosis. By two of this they write the wastes and they get the materials for the producing energy, okay? Many materials move into and out of cells by diffusion. Many materials move into and out of cells by diffusion, okay? Some organelles and wastes doesn't necessary inside the cell. They throw out or right of the cell by what? By the process is called diffusion, okay? Diffusion, by the process is called diffusion. Many materials move into and out of cells by diffusion. In the process of diffusion, particles of the substance move from an area. This is the definition of the diffusion, okay? Underline here. Particles of substance move from an area where there are a lot of particles of the substance to an area where there are fewer particles of the substance, okay? Let me explain and make you clearly that definition. In one area it have many particles, okay? That particles go to one area, there are fewer particles, is called diffusion. By this process the materials go into the cells, there is a fewer particles, and the wastes in the cells go to the cell, okay, and through the cell to outside of the cell. There are very fewer particles. By this process the materials and the cells get energy, okay? Underline the definition of the diffusion. What is diffusion? Particles of substance move from an area where there are a lot of particles of the substance to an area where there are fewer particles of the substance, okay, students? This is the definition of the diffusion. For example, okay, I will give you the example. Red blood cells carry oxygen, okay? Carry oxygen from where? From the lungs, because in the lungs we have many particles of oxygen to all parts of the body, okay? To all parts of the body. There is a lot of oxygen in red blood cells and very little in other body cells. By this process we get the particle of oxygen, because in the other part in our body we have fewer particle of oxygen and we have many particles in the lungs, okay? In the lungs, that's why very easy the red blood cells carry out the particles to other parts, okay? Now I will show you the picture how the diffusions happen, okay? This is what? This is diffusion. Look at this video, you will more understand what is diffusion, okay, students? students, diffusion is the movement of molecules from higher concentration. Do you see? In here we have a higher concentration, okay, higher concentration ink. Then go to the other part, we have a fewer concentration. Look at the video. Do you see the particle top of the water because a very high concentration of the ink, and go down to other particles because of fewer concentration, a low concentration. Now do you understand how the diffusion is happening? Okay, now I will show you in this picture. Okay, students, this picture show you how the diffusion is happening. Okay, in here we have a high molecules. Okay, and this one in the cell membrane. Okay, this is cell membrane. In the cell membrane we have the channels and the passageway to particles move out and come into the cell, and inside here do you see we have a low, we have a low, this orange particles inside this channels. The diffusion will happen. Okay, the orange particles come to in this side, okay, to make equal, and in here we have also this one. Okay, this one come to this side to diffusion is happening. By this process the waste product and the necessary food and energy the cells get. Okay, students, this is the diffusion. Okay, we have the other picture. Do you see inside this bottle? Do you see if you put some ink in here then mix it, do you see there is equal of molecules? Okay, equal of molecules, because here in this area high concentration, and then go down to other side, and then the necessary and the diffusions happens. Okay, students, now we will going to, and this picture in the cell, do you see? In here we have a high concentration. Inside the cell membrane the particles come down to other particles, and there is not require energy because here we have a high concentration and then come down to other part in the cytoplasm. The concentrate the diffusion happen. Okay, do you understand? I give you this example. Diffusion of materials into and out of cells take place through the cell membrane. That diffusion happen in where? In the cell membrane. Okay, you might think of cell membrane as a filter. Okay, the cell membrane just like a filter. Some organelles go and other cannot because there is no necessary for that substance. You might think a cell membrane as a filter. It allows some particles to pass through, but it keeps other particles out. Water and materials dissolved in water, such as sugar, diffuses easily through the cell membrane because sugar are dissolved in the water easily pass of the cell membrane because a small particle. Diffusion doesn't require energy from the cell. Okay, underline this one. Diffusion doesn't require energy from the cell. Diffusion doesn't require energy from the cell. While I asked you, diffusion doesn't require energy or not, you should answer the question that the diffusion doesn't require energy from the cell. The movement of water and dissolved materials through the cell membrane is so important to living organisms that is giving a special name osmosis. Cells get most of their water by what? By osmosis. Okay, let me show you what is the osmosis.
Monster Math presents Addition Below 10. Okay, class, let's begin. What is 5 plus 3? We can solve the problem by counting on. We start with a bigger number, 5.
Easily, okay? That's very hard for you. The diffusion is the some materials is big that necessary the energy to go to the other part. Okay, the osmosis require energy to go the other side. Okay, to go to the other side, the osmosis. Okay, okay, students, write down the definition of the diffusion and osmosis. What is the osmosis? Do you see in this cell? Okay, in this plant cell we have many particles inside of the cytoplasm, and because of that here we have a very higher concentration and go outside because low concentration. Okay, students, osmosis keeps plants from wilting. Okay, osmosis keeps is very important to for the plant because if the water in the leaf is low and then they need water, by this process inside the tube the water go to the leaves by what? By the osmosis. Since there is usually more water in the soil because we have a more water in the soil, and then the plant need water. By the process of osmosis they need energy go to the leaf. Okay, roots plants by water flows into the plant cell. Okay, go to the plant cell. Water flowing in plant cells fill of the vacuole which pushes the cytoplasm tightly against the cell wall. This causes plant stems and leaves to stand straight. Okay, if the soil is very dry, there is more water in the plant than in the soil. Water leaves the plant by osmosis. The loss of water from the plant vacuoles causes cytoplasm to shrink away from the cells. The plant wilts and may die if loses too much water. If there is no of water, the plant will be die. Do you see? These animals drink. Animals replace water their cell lose because that animal lose of water, that water replace of the water. Okay, what is the osmosis? Okay, write the question, what is the osmosis? Okay, students, if you have any question and comment, okay, ask me in the group. Okay, students, till the next lesson, have a good day. Bye bye.